Alright, for our science, we're going outside again. So we have spring is here and new plants are beginning to grow. Take a walk outside with an adult and find a small area where there are different plants growing. Talk about the following questions with someone and then write the answers on a separate piece of paper. So you have these sentence frames if you'd rather use them instead of a separate piece of paper, or like always, you can just answer it right after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer it using my sentence frames this week. So this first question, what is similar about or different about these plants? So my first part is the plants that are similar. So what I found is I found a tree and a rose bush that's right next to that tree in my area that I went walking around. So I'm going to be talking about those guys. So plants are the same because they all have leaves and require an area that receives water to grow. They're also, for my plants, they were green because I was in an area where they've already started to pop back open for the springtime. So whatever you find is similar about them, that's what you're putting in. Now, how can they be different? So I just did this similar part. So now I want the different part. Plants can be different because they can vary in size, so they can be different sizes. And what else? Well, if you've noticed, they also have different size leaves, different amounts of trunks. What else can they do? They also have different widths, they have different roots, but it's all going back to that size. So I'm going to mention that size. The size can be anything from the width of the stem/trunk to their roots to even the size of the leaves. So that's showing how there's differences found between the size, because that size is going to be important. So now we have this next part. We did the differences. So our next question is asking us for is, how do the seeds for these plants get to this spot? So what this is focusing on is, well, I have two guesses. So my first guess is the rose bush doesn't really normally grow in the area where I found it, so I'm pretty sure it was planted there. So I'm going to put plants can grow in different areas because people planted them to be there. They can also grow in different areas because, and this is the one that they're probably looking for the most, is birds carry those seeds. Squirrels carry those seeds. So animals besides people can transplant them. The wind can sweep those seeds away and deposit them far away from the regular trees. There's many different ways. Because animals carry the seeds around and deposit them. Now it could just be it catches onto their fur and it falls off. It could even be that they eat them and then they go to the bathroom and that seed deposit. Okay, so now we have how the seeds get to that spot is done. So next part is, what does the area they are in all have that allows them to grow? So that's part of this question that I had right here. So I'm going to add on to that. The area that allows them to grow must have what? Well, must have access to water, sunlight, and what else? Well, it needs to be somewhat protected, somewhat removed from an area where they're going to be eaten by other animals. So remember, herbivores are those animals that eat plants. Okay, so we've done this part. So now we're on to our next part. Explain the different parts of one plant. Collect and move food to help it survive. So this one is something you're going to have to think back to what we've learned before. So how do they collect it? Well, they collect it by using their leaves. So those leaves, remember that's a process called photosynthesis. And what do they collect? To collect sunlight. Their roots collect water and nutrients from the soil. And then what do both of those do? These help it to grow. Alright, so we've answered all of those questions. So now we have just this one last part. It says draw a model to help explain where plants get their food. You make sure to include water, sun, and soil in your diagram. Label a diagram with words or phrases. So here's my picture. If you need help, you can Google it. But I found my picture to help us out because it was perfectly designed from Jake's Nature blog. So we have the sunlight right here is being absorbed by the leaves, making that food. The food is giving off oxygen, which we haven't talked about. Leaves, another thing that it needs to survive is carbon dioxide. How we breathe oxygen, those plants breathe carbon dioxide. And then you'll see down here, the roots are absorbing that water. That's it for our science.